Hello, everyone. I'm going to be muting everyone here so we can um, just make sure that everybody has a good, safe audio experience as well. Thank you so much for being here for the Virtual World Society Fireside Chat. We have an amazing presentation set up for you, hosted by the incredible Tom Furness, who
Oh,
of the Virtual World Society. And the Virtual World Society, he's going to tell you more about it, but he's really changing the world with outreach, educational outreach programs and research development and whatnot to really help us understand how VR, AR, XR impacts all of us, and especially in the realm of education and beyond. And one of his incredible cohorts here is Matt Cook. And I'm going to let Tom introduce him because he's got plenty to say. But on behalf of Educators in VR and Virtual World Society, I just want to welcome you all here. And everyone, y'all know him. I don't need to keep introducing you every single time. Tom Furness, it's all yours, my friend.
all around. You're wonderful.
You are
You're
too.
wonderful. All you guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. This is really a special occasion. We've been waiting to do this for a while, to have the opportunity for Matt to come. And we did have a big event he'll tell you about that he can relate his experiences. But Matt Cook is uh, pretty much our project manager, one of our project managers at the Virtual World Society. He is a graduate of the University of Washington in mechanical engineering, and he was actually sort of one of my students along the way. I'm afraid that I may have been responsible for getting him addicted to this VR thing. Is that right, Matt?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he's taking it on his own though. So that is one of the project managers working on is the working with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he will tell you a little bit more about that. Let me start off. Again, welcome. Thank you for doing this, and of course you've been really instrumental in helping us doing these chats anyway. Up in the sky.
Tom, you are breaking up super bad. It sounds like everyone else can hear it too.
Okay, so what I will do is drop out, and you take over and sort of tell a little bit about how you got into VR.
Okay, so for anyone who didn't understand what Tom said, he's going to re-enter. And so what he asked me is, how did I get started in VR? Well, as Tom said, I was at UW doing my undergrad in mechanical engineering, and the summer before my senior year, I needed an internship, and I wasn't able to find one. And so Tom was nice enough, he couldn't pay me or anything, but he was nice enough to give me a learning opportunity in his private engineering R&D research lab called the Rat Lab. And so I started, and the idea was for me to do engineering stuff. The intention was not for me to do anything with VR at all. I started out with learning a little bit about some 3D printing. I wrote a Python program, and then about a month in, Tom asked me to take the leading a project on going to a local middle school here in Seattle, Robert Eaglestaff Middle School, you may have heard about, and teaching the students there how to develop their own STEM-based educational VR games. And I like, okay, I'll give it a try. So no experience whatsoever, no programming background other than, a little bit of Python I had done previously. And I spent the rest of that summer just teaching myself how to develop in Unity and how to develop VR, and recruiting teammates from the university to help me do it, and training them to also create. And so by the end of the summer, I had learned at least enough to get these students, teach these students some basics. And honestly, I fell in love with VR and creation. I loved being able to create whatever I wanted. I was always imagined hardware engineering and being able to create physical things. Physical things are cool. They're hard, and I can do it, but I don't know, there's just something about the magic of being virtual reality and being able to just create literally anything. So anyway, I love doing it. So I did that project for a year, helped Tom out with some other projects relating to VR and flow state and research. And by the time I graduated, I just stuck with him, working on some other projects, both VR and non-VR related. And eventually it led to Make-A-Wish.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Have any of you had any experience where you've actually granted a wish in VR? Laurel, could you sort of monitor this for us? If any of you'd like to say anything about that?
Absolutely. Let me turn on the question here. And Tom, if you could make sure that you're on megaphone and on
sorry,
air.
yes.
That's okay. All right.
Sorry,
if you have
sorry.
so the question was, is any of you been involved with the Make-A-Wish program?
Well, let's limit the question. It's not Make-A-Wish, because Make-A-Wish is entirely new. Okay. None of you have been involved. But have you ever granted a wish? Tried to use VR to make someone happy?
Right.
You heard someone ask, "Wouldn't it be cool if I could do this?" And you told them, "I've got a thing for you."
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think? Anybody want to say something about that? Yeah.
Just hit the raise hand. Oh, we got a
raise hand button.
There, Keely, you're on.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, Keely. Okay, Keely.
Okay, so I made a VR application where you're a gold miner in the California foothills, and I put it on someone's head, and they were reading all the information about it, and they're like, "Oh, I really wish I could go in and mine something." And I was like, "Just you wait." And they progressed reading and progressed in the story, and then they went in and they picked up the pickaxe in the mine, and they started mining just as they wished that they could. And when they realized they could do that, and they're like, "Oh wait, I wish I could pick up the minerals I just ordered." And I'm like, "You can." And you see their faces, they were like, "What? I can?" And so yeah, it's a small little
That's
wish,
so cool.
But it was really neat to see them.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That. I love that. Thanks, Keely. All right, next up is Dragoness.
Where's Dragoness? Okay.
Sorry. Okay, so mine is maybe smaller than that, but so I'm building a dream house for my mom, and she likes it. It's coming along, and I'm making adjustments for her, and like it's been really fun.
Wow. And is she going to occupy this house? I mean, is this is that the idea?
It's a place. It's a place to go and just sit and be in a quiet space. That's I mean, she was
how
like,
cool.
I wish it were like this and that, and I'm like, I could build that in VR. So.
What kinds of things does it have? What's in this dream house? Just a few things.
Okay, so like it has a sunroom with like some plants, and it has a like a big bedroom and like a walk-in closet. I mean, I don't know what like the things you might dream what your house actually had.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
a walk-in closet. I love it. I love one of those. All right. Fabulous. All right, we have a few more. My goodness, you started something. You ready for some more?
Sure, let's take one more, and then we can come to some at the end. We'll get that.
All right.
Okay.
Ocarina, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to share that I have kids, and there was a Katy Perry concert happening in India, but I could not take them there because the tickets were very expensive. So I told them the best thing would be to watch it in my VR headset, and you will feel you're at the concert. Though it was not in VR, it was not being live streamed in VR, but still watching a YouTube live in a VR headset did make them happy in some way.
Oh, that's
wonderful.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful. Yeah,
right.
This is great.
Super cool.
And
yeah,
Tom and thank you. Tom and Matt, look at the variety of wishes that are out there.
Yes. Let's have another one.
Oh, all right, one more. Okay. All right. Gavin, you're up. Hey, Gavin. Gavin?
And
There.
how I didn't make someone happy is I actually I before, because now I'm a community helper. So before I was a community helper, I was actually in the alt space info zone helping out people, and I've made a whole lot of people happy with helping them out and making them like feel like they can do like work in alt space, and
Mm-hmm.
I've told them everything about the menu and the microphone, and actually helped them out. Now we're really good friends in VR. So that's
Excellent.
Ah, I love
Just shows you the
Yeah.
magic of this connection you can make.
Yeah, it is. It's
It
so cool.
That's
is.
awesome.
It is beautiful. All right, y'all.
Okay, Matt. Now let's get to so what happened? How in the world did you get connected to begin with? This whole make a wish thing. Why don't you tell us that story?
All right. So, yeah, this is like me in middle school. I forgot to change my slides, but yay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
our work with Make-A-Wish really began with this question. What inspires you most about VR? And I was doing some, I was asked this very cliche question, meant to give the very cliche answers. And I had an answer that led to this. But before I just want to ask one or two people, like, what inspires you most about VR? I'm curious what you guys think.
Okay, hit the raise hand button. Okay.
Got one already?
Caitlin is up.
Certainly, Caitlin.
I am so inspired by VR. I think the word connection always comes to mind. It's a place where you can connect inside in yourself and then also connect outside with other people. So when I read this huge slide with those words, the first word that came to mind is connection. Yeah. Thank
It's
you.
lovely. Maybe one more?
Well, there's a ton already just jumped right in here.
Oh, wow.
Okay, let's see. We could do Lita. Lita's up.
Okay, for me, it's having access to people that would never have access in my everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that
Mhm.
ties into that connection, just bringing everyone
Yes.
together. Yeah.
No, but it's specifically for people who there will absolutely be no way I would have access to these people in my where I am right now.
Like
It would
me.
be in anybody you can see here. I would never find these people. Well,
Mhm.
where I am right now.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
that is great. And that's a really
Mhm.
important point because
Mhm.
VR bridges the gaps among, borders and everything
Mhm.
else. So I love that.
Mhm.
All right. So we're going to see.
Anyway,
Kizoku, our last one, Kizoku.
okay.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically the same point that was just made. Like I can, like, without leaving, I can be talking to someone from Australia, then go over and talk to someone in America, India, while I'm over here in England, and particularly in alt space, just everyone's so friendly and helpful, and yes, just about community, I think, really,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
being able to
Fantastic.
connect without there
beautiful.
being boundaries.
That is beautiful. Thank you. And one thing that I will say that is also very, very exciting is that AltSpace is very soon to release their live speech captioning and instant language translation.
Mhm.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that is going
That's
to
great.
allow us to very not in our language as well as for the hearing impaired. So that inspires me beyond belief.
Mhm.
Oh,
Fantastic.
well, yeah, that's amazing.
fantastic.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, my answer to this question is actually a bit different from all of yours. Maybe speaking as the engineer, but what inspires me most about VR is the infinite possibilities. And it's what I was talking about before, what you guys were talking about with your granting wishes or creating your mother's dream house, but whatever you dream of, you can do it. I think about things like the movie It's a Wonderful Life, where he's talking about, you want the moon? I'll lasso you the moon. I'll do it. I'll lasso it, tie a rope around it. I'll bring it to you. And I think to myself, I can do that. Whatever your wildest fantasy, your greatest dream is, you can make it real. Especially if you learn to create yourself, you can make it. I was just thinking about that, and the thought jumped into my head. Wouldn't this be a cool thing for Make-A-Wish and wish granting for these kids? And so I just kept thinking about that, just offhand, and then I started thinking about it seriously. Like, it would be. I wonder what they've done with this. And so I started looking into it, like, what have they done with VR? And that's when I discovered Zayden. Now, Zayden was, I think, the first VR wish Make-A-Wish in anywhere has ever done. This was done out in Atlanta, so the Georgia chapter of Make-A-Wish. And Zayden wanted to go to Saturn. And he wanted to go in Saturn in his red rocket ship, and he wanted to meet an alien. And so Make-A-Wish, they put this all together. So you can see in the pictures, we've got Zayden's red rocket coming out of the ground in a giant hangar. You can see him on presumably a military base with everyone cheering him on, the big hero astronaut walk. They even had him get trained by a real astronaut whose name I can't remember. And then there's the image from Saturn, and he has met Bebop the alien, and so Bebop talked to him in his little alien language. You can look up this video later when you want, but I highly recommend everyone does. It just brings a tear to your eye, just the sheer joy and excitement on his face every second of this experience. It was amazing. So that was the first Make-A-Wish VR experience out in Georgia. The only other one that I'm aware of before ours happened in California with Keanu. Keanu is 17. He was the quarterback on his high school football team. One of the star players, the leader, before he was diagnosed with cancer and put in his wheelchair. And his wish was he just wanted to play football again. So they used 360 and the Oculus Quest, and they choreographed a real football game with strapping a 360 camera to the quarterback's head for that first-person perspective. They had that driving rover driving around for 360 views. They even had a drone up ahead, up above. And so they put together this football game for him so he could go play with his friends one more time. So another video on that too if you want to look that up. But anyway, I had this idea for, I looked it up, found they had done something with VR before, and so I asked Tom, like, I have this idea. Is this something the Virtual World Society wants to get involved in? And he said, absolutely. And so I just reached out to the local Make-A-Wish chapter, Alaska, Washington, and they didn't exactly have a good way to contact them. I just found their just generic contact us on our website, the thing everyone ignores and no one actually pays attention to. And then I just asked them, like, hey, any interest in VR? And a few days later, we were on a call with them. Apparently, they had interest in VR. They had actually been talking about wanting to do this for years. They talked to numerous companies.
Oh dear. Looks like we lost Matt.
Am I back?
So Laura. Oh, you're back. You're back.
Okay, dropped out.
Okay.
Let me just make sure. Okay, I still amplify, go on air. Okay, I think I'm good to go. Anyway.
Okay.
What was I saying? So yeah, they had
You talk.
they'd spoken
Mhm.
to companies here in Seattle about building some VR experiences for these kids, and of course, everyone's interested. Everyone loves the idea of building VR wishes for kids, but the conversation always died when these companies, who pay their employees and have to pay for their work, listed a price tag of $100,000, and Make-A-Wish just didn't have that to spend on this on a singular wish. And so that is one thing we as Virtual World Society, as a nonprofit with a community and such as yourselves, we could help with, because we were able to leverage our connections and leverage volunteers to be able to build these wishes. In fact, we've built one wish so far, and we have another one under development, and we haven't charged Make-A-Wish a cent.
Mhm.
Okay, and you gotta get my slide controls back. So during our talks with Make-A-Wish, they sat us down and they were telling us about how the wish process works, and the kind of kids they work with, and we knew just what Make-A-Wish did, and always thought it was special and nice and gave you the warm fuzzies, the happiness you can bring these kids. But what we learned is that it actually has the magic to heal. So these kids, they're trapped in hospitals, they're cut off from their friends, they're scared, they're hurting, their
Mhm.
families are going through turmoil. And so there's so much negativity. But when you grant these wishes, and it's not just VR, but any of these wishes, the hope and optimism and excitement and enthusiasm and just sheer joy and positivity that this brings into their life, they take that and they're able to have a more positive attitude when they go through their treatments. It gives them something to be excited about and look forward to, and just all of that, it comes together, and it is actually physically proven to benefit their healing. It actually heals them. So they're actually working with insurance and hospitals to get wish granting as a legitimate part of the wish of the treatment process. They know the power of this, and so they're trying. Many people are bought into this, but that's one of their challenges they deal with, is getting more people to buy into just how much power wish granting has for these
Mhm.
kids.
Okay, Matt. Well, why don't you tell us about one particular example? This one that just happened recently. Tell us a little bit about that, and before we start opening it up to other questions. Okay.
All right. So the first wish we just did recently, was for a young boy named Price. He was 6 years old when we started, 7 when we finished, and he had a very specific vision for what he wanted. He wanted to be a superhero, and he wanted to battle robots, hordes of robots in the streets of Seattle, but also on top of a volcano, whatever that means, with his gray sword and his purple shield and his dynamite, the classic weapons. And he wanted to bash the little hordes of little robots with his sword. And he wanted them to knock them into traffic so they got hit by cars. He was very particular about this, and he wanted to blow them up with dynamite. And then he'd bash the little robots until the big robot came. And then he'd throw dynamite at the big robot, and it would knock off its heat shielding. And then he'd throw the dynamite, and it would explode. And then he could push it into the lava where it would finally be destroyed. So those were our directions to work from, just from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I'll come back to this slide, but we agreed to this partnership, and we agreed to take on this wish. And then I had this feeling like, oh my goodness, we promised it. Now I have to deliver. How are we going to do this? So we were able to find partnerships with amazing organizations. This particular wish was done by AIE, the Academy of Interactive Entertainment. They are a game development school, basically a video game making trade school based here in Seattle. They just teach game development. And so as part of their big final graduation project, their students formed a team and they built this game. So an amazing group of designers and artists and game developers and producers. It was fantastic working with them. But here is what they built. So that is the big robot. And so here is just a short, minute and a half video of a short snippet of what gameplay would look like. So they got hit by the car.
We've got something special for you, Price. It's dynamite. Look at your right arm.
Dynamite got unlocked. It wasn't there initially, but now he's got the dynamite. Now this is obviously not Price playing. This is me playing, just trying to showcase what the game looks like.
Detecting a large object on our scanners. Get ready. Whoa, okay. You deal with that while I figure out...
Oh, and the sword shot lasers. That was a later addition.
He's weak. Hit him. That was awesome.
Oh. So I don't know if anyone recognized that environment, but that took place. The environment was the Seattle Center at the big fountain under the Space Needle. And so the wish itself took place up at the top of the Space Needle. And so we put on the headset and there he'd be at the bottom battling robots. And so here's Price. Here's our little room, our VR area we've got for him. We got a big old screen there in the background to display what he's looking at. I just wanted to show you the previous video so you could get a better picture of the game itself, whereas this is just a snapshot of Price getting to play it. Yeah, so the Space Needle was very kind to let us do this up there. So here's another minute video of Price playing, shot by our lovely Tom Furness.
Whoa, oh what? Oh no! Oh, oh, oh. Hi. Get him, Price. Oh, wow. You're really good, Price.
Use your dynamite, Price.
Get up!
And so that was the VR of the day. So the wish was actually much bigger than this. The big battle with how we, the big main point of kind of the cherry to top it all off. But he actually had a full day in real life too. So it began at his house, where Justice Joey, a member of the Guardians of Seattle, played by one of the artists on the development team, showed up at his house, bringing a letter from Logos, the leader of the Guardians of Seattle, informing him that Dr. Magma, their arch nemesis, was using his army of robots to build a volcano in Seattle, and Price was the only one who could stop them. And the letter was written all in invisible ink for security purposes. And so that led him on a journey through the city that then took him to the T-Mobile Stadium, where he met the Mariner's Moose and received his shield, and got an augmented reality clue to the next location, which was the Seattle Art Museum, outside of Seattle Art Museum, where he saw the Hammering Man and met one of the art curators, also played by one of the development team. The robots, he got there, and the robots had just escaped, so he had to go chase after them. And the Mariner's Moose and the Hammering Man are also secretly members of the Guardians of Seattle, FYI. And so then after that, he went to the Pike Place Market, where he had to eat his fruits and vegetables to gain strength for the final battle. His idea, by the way. So good job, parents, for that. So he got his strength, and then finally he learned that the robots were building the volcano at the Seattle Center. So he had to go make his way over there to go up to the Space Needle and finally battle the robots. And it just went over great. He was so happy and so excited. We were downstairs at the bottom of the Space Needle and all taking, last-minute photos and saying our goodbyes. And I saw him come up to his dad and give him a big old hug. And I was later told that during that hug he was crying, and his dad asked him, like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And he told him, "I'm just so happy about today. I loved it so much." The first thing he said before he took off his headset, the first thing he said after he was like, "Can I play it again?" And the development team just loved hearing that, because that was the number one thing we wanted from this experience. So we just wanted him to be happy with it. We didn't want any asterisk. Like, it was great, but he loved every bit of it. And he actually he's wearing a Valve Index, and he got to take that home. And so we gave him Make-A-Wish got a computer donated, and Valve donated the Index and a Steam gift card so they could get some games, and so now he can go home and play that Wish as many times as he wants.
So just so you know, Price was born with an abnormal heart, and he had been through about 9 different surgeries already, I think.
Okay, I didn't know that. 9? Wow.
Yeah, and then he actually eventually he's going to have a heart transplant if he's going to live a lot longer. Let's just put it that way. So that's the wonderful thing that the Make-A-Wish does. I hate to mention that. I mean, didn't want to interrupt you, Matt.
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay. So Matt, let me ask you this final question. We've all talked about the wishes that we have individually done, and sort of the things that VR is good for in terms of providing gifts to people. But one of the things is, I want to ask you, on behalf of all of us, what recommendations would you give to people who are just starting out, and are sort of overwhelmed by all of this? What advice, based upon your journey? You're 25 years old now, and you've been in this for what, about 5 years?
3 years.
Or 3 years? Okay, what advice would you give everyone about getting into VR?
Getting into VR in general?
Yeah.
Play. Get involved. Just start doing stuff. Find what. Just have fun with it. Honestly, the more once you start if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, the best way to learn is to just start figuring out what's out there. I loved the early days when you had me getting involved in VR, where my job was to just see those games see that list of games on the computer, go play them.
Right.
That's how you learn what's out there. That's how you learn how to interact. That's how you learn how to design. And once you start getting comfortable, start getting involved in things. I attended hackathons, and you know, in addition to my learning to build for the sake of the middle school, where I started getting to know people in the community, and started learning some additional skills that would have been harder to learn on my own. And you know, if you have an idea, play with it. Talk to someone about it. That's another benefit to being involved in the community, is just share and reach out. I mean, this whole thing with Make-A-Wish, it started with an idea, and I reached out, and other people were interested in that idea too, and we ran with it. And then when it was still only an idea, we still needed to execute, and so I again leveraged our connections with Tron, also with Virtual World Society, who introduced me to AIE, and so I reached out blindly to them, and we made it happen. So just start playing and doing stuff, and you'll figure it out, I think.
Yeah. And there are meetups that you can attend along
Those
with the
two,
hackathons,
yes.
but just get started. And it's amazing. You know, it's not necessarily rocket science. I mean, it's something that the tools are still a little clunky in developed virtual worlds, but still you can get started. And that's the key, I think, Matt, that you're telling us. That
it's definitely a gradual process. You know, once you start playing, you start getting interested, and then you just start figuring out. I never had a formal computer science or programming background. I just started learning what I needed to on an as-needed basis, and got to where I am. So now I can create things and make things happen. And then by playing, you'll learn what you're passionate about, and you'll learn what kind of things you like and want to get involved with.
Yeah. And Matt is now a student at Georgia Tech in computer science, starting up here shortly.
Yep, I got accepted into their online master's program, so
yeah.
Hopefully soon I will have a formal background.
Okay, well, Matt, this is fantastic. This is wonderful for you to relate these experiences, and especially the enthusiasm and heart that you put into it. I think that we all should give him, a whole bunch of hearts for this, his journey and the experiences he had. Look at this, Matt.
Aww.
It shows that you're loved. You're so loved by everyone. Yeah. So with that, let's open for questions. There's questions for Matt about the experience and his experiences in general. You have more slides. I don't know if you want to show them, Matt, if that's anything that
let's see.
Anything special there?
Well, so I mentioned previously, we have 2 wishes. So we finished Price's wish with the superhero. The other one started around the same time, but we've got a much longer timeline, so it's still under development. But for that one, we were working with the UW Reality Lab at the University of Washington Computer Science Department. And so again, that was started as their student capstone project, and those students are still involved, just developing on the side, still working on that. And so we had a lot less specificity on this one. Obviously, his family is just going through a tremendous amount, and very understandably, and this is common for many Make-A-Wish families, is communication is tricky. So we weren't able to get as much specificity with what he wanted. So we had a lot more creative freedom ourselves. But what we did want is he wanted to be a ninja, and he wanted to battle green monsters. So very specific about green monsters. Weren't really sure what they looked like. You can kind of see the line there. It's a little difficult to decipher. We struggled with that one. That was the interpretation we've come up with. But he wanted to battle green monsters. He wanted to have his sword and his throwing stars. But one of the big things he wanted was to include his grandfather, because he's a shy kid, but He's very close with his grandpa, and just having his grandpa involved just helps him open up. And so so it was important that and somehow we include him. So let's see. Do you want to talk about this before?
Well, just as a final reminder, that we really invite everyone to join up the Virtual World Society, to roll up your sleeves and go to work to help us do our mission. Our mission is really to lift humanity, to use the technology of our age to unlock hearts and minds and link them. And we are so excited about the projects that are unfolding, like the continuing Make-A-Wish. You'll be hearing next week, our next 2 weeks, and 2 weeks from today, in our Fireside chat with Christopher Lafayette. Christopher Lafayette is working on a project he calls the Black Technology Mentorship Program, that deals with growing engineers that are people of color, to fulfill all of the opportunities that are out there, and raise the economic status of people everywhere. An amazing project he's doing. He'll be telling us about that in 2 weeks. We are working on a partnership agreement with the Virtual World Society. And of course, we want to thank Educators in VR. Educators in VR have really introduced us into this alt space environment. They're continuing to support it. We are partners and will continue to be forever, right, Laurel? And
it's a marriage.
It's a marriage. It's a marriage.
So we're stuck,
right?
We're stuck.
Yeah. We have a great event coming up. Go to the website and join up there, virtualworldsociety.org. And so, Matt, there's a final slide. People need to see this. Yeah, that one.
I forgot to mention, I was also a character in Price's Wish. I played Ghost, the leader of the Guardians of Seattle. So he took off his headset, and I was there waiting for him to give him his Medal of Bravery and to officially induct him into as our newest member of the Guardians of Seattle as Protector Price. And so that's is my superhero costume. I designed myself.
And you don't have your mask on. You also have a mask.
There was a red mask, yes.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it was a joy for me to see Matt running around underneath the Space Needle all over the Seattle Center in his cape, and he was quite an attraction to all the people that were there. Right, Matt? It
was especially entertaining when Price and I started having a gladiator battle. He needed some training with his weapons, so he and I had a little bit of combat training. He kept hitting me with his sword. That thing was hard. It had some range. It was hard to dodge.
That's right. That's right. Okay, well, let's open it up for any questions that you might have from the audience.
Okay, we have Octarina. Is your question still valid? You're on the air. Octarina?
Yeah, so as you talked about this experience where he is playing the game, and his first reaction was, can I play again? I mean, what care was taken? Like, he's a patient also. I mean, so what care was taken regarding the nausea get? Like, I know my kids play games in VR. Like, last I told her, I've just downloaded a new game. Why don't you just play in VR? She said, I play in VR for a day, and then for 10 days, I feel nausea. I'll get back to it after 10 days. So how was this taken care of? Because I'm sure if a kid would have experienced nausea or any kind of discomfort, he would have not wanted to play it again.
Yeah, so we were very careful about designing this safely. The students I worked with at AIE, they were experienced Unity developers, but had no experience with VR development before. So I was very clear and specific and adamant about designing this in a way that would be safe, and I made sure to educate them about what that meant. And so we made sure that there was no sort of locomotion. We wanted to make sure there was a good frame rate. We were using a good quality headset, and all the robots came to him. So he didn't need to go navigate around the space in any way. So everything was there. And so any motion he experienced or saw was the motion he was feeling at the same time. And so it should be safe. The other way we could have done this safely and allowed him to navigate the space would be to incorporate teleportation instead of locomotion. But one thing we did very early on was we weren't sure how well a kid this young would be able to do VR or navigate the controls or figure this out, because even adults for their first time in VR struggle with, like, what do I press? How do I do this? So we brought him over to our lab and we just had him play. We introduced him to a few basic games, and we started to, so he could start training on how to use the controls, and we could start figuring out what mechanics he could do well and which ones he couldn't. And we definitely saw that he was really struggling with teleportation. So even though it would be a safe thing to do, we very specifically designed this thing. So like, no need for that. He's going to be in one place. Everything is going to come to him. Anything he needs is going to be in reach.
Great.
That's
Yeah,
really...
I mean, there's lots that goes into giving such experience. And thank you. I mean,
But
I
that's
was
a very
really
good
curious
question.
to know. Yeah.
And one of the things that we are concerned about, and in our earlier meetings we talked about this quite a bit, is that the number one thing in VR and what we represent in a virtual world society is to do no harm. We are concerned about some of the games that are being built without taking that into account. You have to understand that there are 54 years of background here. And a lot of the newcomers in this, especially the ones that are making games, don't know, as Matt mentioned, they don't understand this. They don't understand the psychology, the psyche, the physiological side of it, the motion sickness piece of it, and a lot of the other things about even the hardware design. But we do. We who have been in this business for quite a while understand all of that. And so one of the things we want to be doing as a purveyor of this new technology or a guideline, provide the guidelines for the development of not only the technology, but the applications in that technology. And as Matt mentioned, this was something that was number one on the list, make sure we do no harm. The parents were there the whole time. And so we were sort of concerned about us getting too excited about it. But it turns out that he was amazing. I mean, it was just wonderful being in his presence. What a great little spirit. And, he's had his own struggles and challenges in life, but this gave him not only something that was wonderful that he helped design, but gave him hope and want him so that he can be willing and want to go through what is necessary so he can continue to thrive.
He was so excited by all of this. I mean, another thing we considered in our design process based on watching him play was make sure he has lots of room and that he's not trying to charge after things, because he would be playing in our lab space and he'd see something over there and he'd just go charging after it, and we'd have to catch him and stop him, like, no, don't go charging headfirst into a wall. He was just so immersed and passionate about it. So
Right.
All right, let's see. That's part of what VR is. We talked about the connection, and it's also about the access, the accessibility. So that is beautiful. All right, next up, thanks, Ocarina. The next up is Kate H. You're on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. The final product, and the experience of it was amazing. I mean, obviously, he really enjoyed that and was excited, as you said. But what really struck me right from the start was the sort of specific way that his wishes had been sort of listened to and written down. It was quite clear from that list that it had come really from the from the child. It wasn't some adult, and it seems to me that that early sort of listening must have been a very important part of the process, because then it's what made it possible for it all to sort of come to fruition in the end, just as he'd imagined it. So I wondered, maybe you weren't involved in that early stage, but I wondered what you knew about how those wishes were sort of listened to and collected in the first place.
So that was explained to us as part of the wish process that Make-A-Wish told us about early on. So they have their wish coordinators that go out and they talk to the child. So what happens is a doctor will, or someone will recommend recommend a child to Make-A-Wish, or Make-A-Wish to a family, and they'll go apply. And if they're deemed, I don't want to say, if they're eligible for a wish, they'll send a wish coordinator, and the wish coordinator is responsible for kind of talking to the child and flushing out what it is they're looking for. As far as specifically how they do it, I'm not entirely sure, but that happens there.
Well, I think we have a question also.
Okay. All right. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have Paul is up next. Thanks, Kate.
Hey, Paul. Good to see you.
How's it going, guys? Good to see you too. So, Matt, you mentioned a online course you were taking. I'm actually taking a class with Nicholas Barone out of Tri-Universe.
Oh, cool.
Even today, he started the VR developing using Unity. So I'm wondering, and this is an alt space. So I'm wondering, could you list your class, the school you went to?
I'm currently enrolled at the Georgia.
Hold on a second, Paul. Yeah, we're going to mute you because you need to get headphones on. First part of learning how to use VR in 2D. Got to get those headphones. All right, Matt, go for it.
So I'm enrolled in the Georgia Tech Online Masters in Computer Science program. Otherwise, I've taken a brief computer science level 2 course at North Seattle Community College. Otherwise, my education is in mechanical engineering, and all my programming has been self-taught on an as-needed basis. No formal VR coursework. It's all just been learning it on the go.
And Matt, I want to double check that you're on Megaphone, but aren't you teaching with Nicholas Barone as well with the computer science and VR program?
I started helping with that, but we decided, because I'm enrolled in courses in grad school
bandwidth
starting spring, we decided to stop. But I was trying to help him for a while. I was speaking to him early on during the development of this coursework, and I spoke a couple weekends ago to his classes about this VR safety stuff.
But
well,
Paul,
awesome.
I think that that there will be more of these that begin to unfold, and this is an area that certainly our next speaker, Christopher Lafayette, is interested in, is providing these outreach programs for mentoring and things like that to learn the skills to design worlds and for VR. But I think the alt space is going to have these kind of sessions, continue to have these sessions, right, Matt? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I'm going to merge the two rooms together. So if y'all could just hold on for just a second, and we're going to bring these two rooms together. We've split into two, and we will see what happens here. So hang on, and let's go.
Okay. Are we merged? Well, L'Oreal's going to the other room first, I guess. Oh, you're back.
Okay, beautiful. I'm back. Yes, I am. So we've merged the two rooms together, so we're all good. All right, more questions, because I have a ton of more questions for Matt and Tom about how this all worked. And I think that I'd like to know that, what was your role in it, and how did you had a whole lot of parties involved in this. So how did you bring everybody together to make this happen for these little boys? This is wonderful.
Well, it was actually pretty easy to put this all together because it's just such a wonderful project. Everyone was so enthusiastic to just be involved in whatever way they could. So I reached out to Make-A-Wish and started talking to them, and they were interested, and we were interested, and so we just started making it happen until we agreed on, here's some wishes, we're going to make them. And so I just reached out to AIE and told them, like, hey, I've got this project. Would your students be interested? And they told me just, yes, this is absolutely something we want to be involved in. And so it then became just a discussion of how are they going to be involved. So we were talking about either just finding a team of interested students to work on this on the side, or what we ultimately chose would fit into everyone's schedules and get the best talent they had to offer, was doing this as part of their major production project, so they would be able to focus on it nearly full time, and for several months be able to commit to it fully. Oh, I didn't realize I wasn't on megaphone.
It must have dropped off for some reason. When you switch, when you combine us, L'Oreal, I think the megaphone went off.
Yeah, probably me. I'm always the troublemaker.
Yeah, you are.
All right, emojis if you haven't been able to hear me.
Yes, we
Okay,
have not.
so people are able to
It's
hear me?
been quiet, sort of. You were just very, very quiet. Okay. All right.
But yeah, it's because of their major production project at AIE. They were involved.
Okay, we're looking for more questions too, and then I need to re-enter in just a second. So any more questions for Matt and Tom about how this all pulled together?
I think Paul has his hand up again still.
So please hit the raise hand button so we can amplify your voice so you can be heard. Okay, all right. Artist 3D, you're on.
Hi, can you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay, good.
We hear you.
Okay, I didn't have headphones on, but I'm in a Quest, so I thought maybe they were internal. But I have headphones on now, so that should be pretty clear, and I'm hearing you all very well now.
No problem.
Great. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, I came in a little late, so I only caught the beginning of the description of what the little boy was wishing to do, and I have to say that my, I mean, notwithstanding that the experience that you gave him was satisfying to his wish, I'm just curious how, when you're entertaining wishes, so to speak, or a panel is entertaining wishes, is there any, I mean, you did mention a doctor, so I'm assuming there was some analysis of why a little boy would want to sort of do this kind of thing, where, at such a young age, basically dynamite, not necessarily robots, there's sort of an underlying something else going on there, where, I mean, when I've worked with kids in VR, and I just play with them, there is an element of creativity, and then there's an element of destroying things in the process. And I just wonder, how did the whole issue of it go? Is there any attempt in the fulfilling of such a dream to introduce something in the application that somehow resolves the violence into something else? Like, what did you know? Like, I can see wanting to be a superhero. I've been wanting to be a superhero all my life. You know, comic book style.
You
right?
are one.
But
You are one,
well,
Paul.
well, no, but I mean, you know, I always sort of never really think about the part where to be a superhero, you know, I'm going to be sort of doing that. It's more like I feel like, you know, being more of a defender of sorts. And I understand that the app was designed to suit his desires. I just wondered if in that process there's any way to convert that, you know, because you know somehow, you know, it's just there's something uncomfortable about a little boy wanting to do that. You know, like I just don't know, you know, what's involved there and how that translates. That's all. I mean, you know, I mean,
Well,
I just speak, you know.
yeah, I understand. Well, we just produced what Make-A-Wish told us. They're the ones who sent the wish coordinator and collected the wish from the child, from Price, and they relayed that back to us, and then we just had our hard definitions. Okay, here's what we're making. So I'm not sure if the Make-A-Wish put any effort into
I think it
relaying
was,
relaying against violence or not. I imagine they might have if his wish were, you know, trying to shoot terrorists or something. I think robots was a little bit safer.
Well, I understand that in the industry, the personification of people are usually robots, aliens, and you know anything that's not human is probably just a way to get around the concept. But it is a very integral part of most video games that are you know selling and everything. And I understand the culture is slanted in that direction. I just wonder how to be, I don't know, integrate some aspect of destruction into something else that it translates into something. You know, I just don't know what to suggest. I just wondered if it was part of the you know, okay, so Make-A-Wish basically said this is it and these are your parameters. But I'm just wondering out loud, really, just whoa, you know, when you
Let me answer
describe
that,
what
Paul.
when you describe what he
Let me
wanted,
address
is what
that.
kind of freaked
Let me
me out.
address this, Matt. Okay, well, we understand. This is something that's very close to all of us. Is if you look at the manifesto that we created, the manifesto has to do with the power of the technology. We're playing with fire, do no harm, shun violence in every form. That we believe in. Now, one of the things that is the cause Price was trying to do is save Seattle. And his objective was to become a superhero so he could save Seattle, and this was the mechanism, that the way he wanted to do it. Now, we had to honor that, but this was his wish. This was not our wish. We're not trying to lay on him anything else other than we wouldn't let him kill people. We wouldn't do that. But this was something that we felt was innocent enough that did not necessarily have this idea that you're just going to just count bodies that you've racked up. That this was going to be something that was lifting for him in particular, because he is now going to be one of the protectors of Seattle. And the same is true with the ninja. We don't, again, we're not, we're going to shun that. We don't want to be the default of industry, like the default of industry, which is games of violence. And that's not what this is about. This is about something else. So I don't think you can connect your concern to what was going on with Make-A-Wish. I think you can connect your concern with, in general, what the industry is doing with using this powerful technology of making games of violence where, you know, you're blowing people apart and there's blood and guts all over the place. And that we do not want to do, and we want to shun that. And that is the cause of the virtual world society, to stay away from that, because we want to lift humanity. We don't want to play, have, you know, make entertainment or play killing anything. I don't know if that answered your question, Paul, but that's our feelings about it. Yeah. We can talk offline if you want to about that.
Yay.
But this is certainly something close to us.
Indeed.
Thank you,
All
Tom.
right. Thank you. Ocarina, you are up next.
Again,
Oh,
this
did you hit? Oh, so was that a while ago? I'm sorry. Up to you.
can I ask a question?
Sure, and then
Mhm.
Kate's up next.
Okay, so my question was, it is a very expensive thing to build a game in VR, and there were sponsors like Valve, and I mean, the whole city came to, I mean, you used a museum, you used everything. I mean, was it possible because of Make-A-Wish, or, I mean, who bears the expenses for all these things?
Well, most of it was donor. Make-A-Wish, the Make-A-Wish name definitely helps. They've got name recognition. They've got just a positive reputation for just being an organization that does good. And so many people just believe in doing this good thing for children for the sake of being good. And so they're willing to donate and they're willing to volunteer. And so the Make-A-Wish name made it a lot easier to get volunteers. The Make-A-Wish name got us involved, and we weren't charging anything. The Make-A-Wish name and the mission and the goodness of it got AIE involved without needing to pay anything. The Space Needle and the Mariner's Moose, they just wanted to help, and so it didn't charge anything. Any expenses that were incurred, not everything was free. We made T-shirts, we wrangled transportation costs because Price was being carted around in a convoy of black SUVs. I'm not sure if those were donated or not, but if they weren't, there would be a cost to that. Just little bits and pieces, and some reimbursements for things were put on Make-A-Wish. And so Make-A-Wish, anything that was paid for was done by them. And they are very good at raising money and collecting donations to pay for such things.
But back to Katrina, it turns out you can make virtual worlds easily. I mean, once you have the technology, even the simple stuff like an Oculus Rift, like an Oculus Quest. But I mean, just doing Tilt Brush, doing a Google Blocks, doing some of these VR sculpturing programs. This is a way to do Minecraft basically in VR. Now, the real challenge is when you're making a game, when you're actually connecting everything together into a system. And that does require some more work. But the tools are coming along. And you can make some amazing virtual worlds your own, create on your own, your children, for example. Using the technology can make some cool environments. And that's a place to start. And then eventually add in those kind of features that you can get from things like Unity and Unreal and things like that come along if you really want to now get into the physics of things. So it's not that expensive to get started. If you want to build a whole game, it's going to take some effort to get there.
You're not very clear, Tom. I mean,
Tom, yeah, you're breaking up again.
Oh dear.
Breaking up is hard to do. All right. Thank you, Ocarina.
So for those who didn't understand, basically what I was saying is it's easy to create a world. It's easy to create an environment. What's harder is connecting everything into a system and connecting it into a game. And so the tools are getting better. And once you have, those worlds, those parts, those environments, you can bring it into these other tools and start connecting things, but getting started and just being able to create the initial groundwork can be done cheaply or free. I believe that's the gist of what he was saying through his muffled. Do we have another question? Oh, now Laurel's gone. I'm all alone. All right. Let me try to take the question. Kate.
Yeah.
Kate, did you have a question?
Kate. All right, hang on. Kate, if you could hit the raise hand button one more time. There, all right. It's all yours, Kate. And sorry, I'll have to echo you. I'd have to, hit it again. We'd lost you again. And then after your question, I'll mute you so that we don't get the echo. Thanks. All right, go for it. Oh, dear. Hit it. Oh, hit the button once. Just hit the once and then one more time. Waiting for it to show up. There you go. You're on air. Okay, Kate. Let me try this again. There, you now
Okay.
try it. Okay.
Now you can hear. Can you?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, good. Thank you. I was interested in the point about the violence, and I wanted to just follow up on that, if it's all right, because I think it would be important to see it in the context of this little boy's life. I mean, how many heart operations did you say he'd had?
Nine.
Yeah, a heart disease that could kill you, presumably, is a pretty destructive thing. And I could imagine that the experience of sort of turning that around a little bit and making him the one who's in charge, and kind of zapping whatever kind of bad is coming at him, was probably part of what was important for him.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes, I agree.
I'm not sure he had enough self-awareness to be aware of that, but perhaps, yeah.
I think even with young kids that they kind of, they feel angry. They may not know why, but there's things that are happening. And so I love that idea of giving him a sense of control. So I think that's, because boy, when you're dealing with medical stuff, I don't care if you're a kid or an adult, you really feel like you're out of control. So seriously, I've wanted to hurt a few things when I've been sick. No energy, but the desire is there. Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful point, Kate.
It is. Thanks, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
And
all right,
Paul is
are we
happy
ready
with
to
that,
open
too.
up the Tom and
Yeah.
Matt? Are you ready to open up the floor?
I am. We are.
Sure. Okay.
Are you ready, Matt? Sure.
All right. I want to again just letting y'all know, thank you again to Tom Furness and to Matt Cook for the amazing experience here. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, thank you for helping bring VR for good and helping to change the world and change lives. It is such a beautiful thing. I just love it. Please join the Virtual World Society. Give if you can to help support these ongoing causes. It is so essential that this kind of work continues, as well as the amazing research and outreach programs that the Virtual World Society is doing. So, you can join and just give, even if it's just the tiniest amount, helps make a huge difference in the world for all of us.